In Rockford, Illinois today, jury selection begins for a mass murder trial that will actually be conducted in Chicago. It's been more than a year since the murders were discovered, but Chris Kelly reports emotion in the case remains high.
You might be witnessing one of the most horrible crimes, perhaps, in a century.
It was a grisly scene. Day after day, the bodies of boys and young men being taken out of the home of John Wayne Gacy. 29 decomposed corpses were found under the house and surrounding grounds. 4 other bodies were discovered in a river several miles away. In all, Gacy is charged with 33 murders over a 7-year period. More than a year later, 11 victims remain unidentified. Authorities claim the 37-year-old building contractor used job offers and sometimes strong-arm methods to bring his young male victims to his home for intended homosexual activities. Most were killed, a few escaped.
Definitely threatened me with that he had guns in the house, and that if he had to, if I went to the police or told anyone about his advances upon me, that I would be endangered with that, and that he wanted me to realize how easy it would have been for him to kill me right then and there.
Police searched the home for several months looking for other victims. The house was so badly dismantled that it had to be torn down. Gacy has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. During 3 of his pretrial court appearances, he collapsed and was hospitalized for apparent heart problems. But doctors have been unable to find any health problems serious enough to prevent him from standing trial. Among those the defense would like to call as potential witnesses is Rosalind Carter, who posed with Gacy for this 1976 photograph. At the time, Gacy was a Democratic volunteer campaign worker. Because of the enormous publicity generated by the case, the jury will be selected in Rockford, 90 miles away from Chicago. The city was picked because a study showed that of 5 potential sites, people here had been subjected to the least number of news accounts of the case.
I think Rockford is a good common sense community. People don't have a tendency to run in a pack in Rockford. I think most of the people here are independent enough to form their own opinions. And I think that probably a sense of fairness pervades that kind of thinking.
The selection of the jury here in this Rockford courtroom and the subsequent trial itself in Chicago represent an unprecedented legal procedure in Illinois. The hope is that this, along with sequestering the jury, will assure Gacy a fair trial. Chris Kelly, CBS News, Rockford, Illinois.
Prison authorities in Illinois are preparing to execute one of America's most notorious serial killers. John Wayne Gacy is scheduled to die by lethal injection early Tuesday morning after a legal battle that has gone on for years. More now from Frank Courier.
It was 1978 when the world first saw the horrifying images of body bags being pulled from John Wayne Gacy's house near Chicago, and of Gacy, later convicted in the torture murders of 33 young men and boys and condemned to die.
Nothing is going to stop this execution from happening. It's gotta happen.
After 14 years on death row in an Illinois prison fighting to overturn his sentence, Gacy's time is running out. His lawyers are scrambling to block Tuesday's scheduled execution.
Mr. Gacy is unfortunately the person that everybody holds up to support the idea that capital punishment is right and that it works and that it's just.
But prosecutors say he's exhausted his options.
I don't want to see any last-minute delays. The case has been pending for 14 years. His lawyers had an obligation sometime in the last 14 years to bring up whatever they're trying to bring up today.
Most Chicagoans agree and are fed up with paying millions of tax dollars to keep a confessed serial killer alive.
We've wasted enough money on him already.
He just doesn't have a purpose on this planet.
Not surprisingly, even activists admit that Gacy may be the perfect argument for capital punishment, but they want to keep him alive, saying that any execution sends out the wrong message.
The unavoidable truth is that the death penalty makes premeditated killers of us all. We become the very thing that we condemn.
Still, for the victims' families, it'll be justice served when, barring any last-minute reprieve, Gacy dies by lethal injection in a small execution chamber at Stateville Penitentiary. Frank Courier, CBS News, Joliet, Illinois.